This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome into Behind the Mic. Brad Dalius, Keith Jackson with you on this Wednesday night, June the 20th, 2018. Busy world of sports tonight. Dodgers, the 5-series winning streak, unfortunately came to an end earlier today. They lost in Chicago, dropped 2 out of 3 to the Cubbies. So there goes that streak, Keith. But nonetheless, they fell to a tough Cubs team today. John Lester pitched great for them. Dodgers could not really get anything going offensively. Although Ross Stripling pitched not too bad. He's pitched well recently, as you know. That kind of continued today, but they just could not get anything going offensively, so they dropped it 4-0. But it's the first time in over a month, actually, that they've lost a series. It's the first time in over a month they've lost a series. Not too bad, considering where they've came from. So that's what's going on with the Dodgers. A lot of basketball talk once again tonight. We got into a lot of things last night over at Malloy's. That'll continue tonight. Big news today, Dwight Howard was traded from the Hornets to the Nets. We'll talk about it in just a bit. Some things we didn't get to yesterday. We want to get to Tom Brady's Oprah interview because we got a lot of thoughts on that one. As far as Patriots world is concerned, Phil Mickelson, we got to give you our 2 cents on Lefty on what happened on Sunday at the U.S. Open as well. Major League Baseball announced today, Keith, that they are going to have a kickoff game to the 2019 College World Series a year from now. We'll give our opinions on that as well. The Lakers, everyone inside the organization was also warned today about something. We'll tell you what that was in just a second. But as we kind of bring in Keith Jackson now, don't forget on the line, BehindTheMicShow.com, the Behind the Mic app, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope as well. How are things, Keith? What's going on? How we doing?
Things are great. I'm telling you the other day I was following a little bit of World Cup. Portugal won today, which was great.
I saw that.
Uruguay won today, it was pretty good. It's watching them guys play. But, a lot of surprises going on in the NBA, and a lot of talk with the draft coming up and what's going to happen, what kind of moves are going to be made. And you see what happened with Dwight Howard. Now they're talking about Kemba Walker, trying to bring him over to Cleveland and hopefully get LeBron to stay. And then there's something that came out earlier about Kevin Love. If LeBron does leave, they still want to keep Kevin Love around. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of movement in the NBA, as that's the hot topic that everybody's talking about. So let's get right to it.
Let's start with the Lakers here locally in L.A. As I mentioned, they were warned today all internally. Jeannie Buss, Magic Johnson warning the entire organization, no tampering, Keith. They've already been busted for it multiple times, I believe, within the last year. So they're making sure that everyone is tight-lipped and quiet and not tampering with any potential free agents prior to that July 1st start date of free agency. So you want to make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, of course, and not to mention they've been busting for it before here recently.
Well, of course. And on top of that, you don't want to mess yourself up in landing someone like LeBron James or Paul George or Kawhi Leonard maybe, or anyone else that's out there. You don't want to mess up that. And also with the draft, this is an important time for the Lakers, these next 48 hours or 24 hours, so to speak. So it's a very important time for them. I wouldn't be surprised if there'd be some moves made even today, later on tonight. I mean, it's 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock out in the East Coast now, but movement can still be made, as we can see it happening by the minute. So
yeah, that's what we were talking about last night. Maybe it's possible that the Lakers, we talked about maybe putting Lonzo on the trade block maybe they package something via the draft with another team. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe that's something that the wheels are churning with right now as we speak. It's a possibility, and it might be worth them doing it, like we talked about. If not Lonzo Ball, getting rid of that Luol Deng contract and all the money that's on the books for him. We'll see what they decide to do.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what they decide to do, but we know this. Someone's gone.
Yeah, that's for sure.
If they're going to land someone big, and I think by them even having this meeting is saying that we have, we got a great opportunity to land someone big, and I'm sure it could be someone like LeBron James maybe. We don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully it is. Hopefully it is LeBron. At this point, there's nothing new. Today we have you can kind of call it the LeBron watch at this point in time. There's almost something new every day. Nothing really new today besides the fact that the only thing that was tied with him was, like you said, I believe you mentioned, Keith, the Cleveland situation. Or maybe you didn't, I'm not sure, but the Kevin Love, basically Cleveland came out today and said that they want Kevin Love back specifically with or without LeBron next year. So that's interesting. We heard about Chris Paul and basically how he is openly recruiting to bring LeBron to Houston to be with the Rockets. So a lot of possibilities, a lot of things floating out there. Make of it what you will, how much stock you put in certain allegations that are being put out there, certain certainties that some people feel. Take it as it comes in, as you will. But there's no denying the fact that LeBron has made it very clear, and the family has made it clear to the public that they want to be out here in L.A., and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But there's no doubt, like you said last night, he really is going to be the straw that stirs the drink of NBA free agency 2018. Everyone's going to follow suit.
Absolutely. He's the straw, but I'm sure, he can't talk to anybody right now, but I'm sure there's some other people around him or in his camp that may be talking to some other people outside of the other people's camps and things like that, and knowing what his move's going to be. I'm sure LeBron knows what his move's going to be next already. But everyone's for certain that the Lakers is the place that he's going to be. But we could be shocked. It could be something completely off, completely different.
It wouldn't be the first time.
And it wouldn't be the first time that LeBron kind of started the whole thing that they said about controlling where players can go, where, that they should be able to pour, not the GMs of the world.
Kind of combining and forming these super teams.
And everybody's kind of hated the fact, because he's done something like that, that he's actually did this. And a lot of the franchises, so to speak, the teams and things, GMs and owners, because they can't control what happens, and that's in the situation they're in with Kawhi Leonard right now. So, you never know what he's going to do, and but I'm sure it'll be a legitimate reason why. And whatever he does, in my opinion, no one can really get mad at him, because he did come back to Cleveland, win a championship, and now it's really just about him and his family, and that's what he's in the back end of his career, so that's where he's going to go by. So good for him. I can see that happening.
And the thing that kills me about, you talk about criticism that LeBron has gotten from certain outlets, media outlets as well, forming these super teams, starting the trend in 2010, but I'll make the case that started a long time ago. We've seen big groups of stars get together over the years. It's nothing new. I mean, think back to just 2008 in Boston with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce coming together there with the Celtics and everyone else they added. It's not the first time. I don't know why that narrative is tied strictly to LeBron starting it in 2010.
Yeah, it really started.
He did the decision, which obviously irked a lot of people and moved people the wrong way. Probably could have handled it differently.
Yeah.
But
I think that the difference is between what Boston did. Boston didn't have any trades. All those guys are free agents at the time, remember? So at the time, Kevin Durant, Ray Allen, all these guys were like free agents at the time, so they could have done whatever they wanted. So they just actually called each other like, hey, let's make a move and go here. And they talked to Paul, and I'm sure Paul talked to the GM and the agents and things like that, and they worked that deal out. The thing with LeBron is that LeBron the difference between them and LeBron was that LeBron, I think he was an unrestricted free agent at the time. I don't think he was a complete free agent. He didn't give nobody a heads up.
Yeah.
What he was going to do.
I mean, either way, Miami didn't acquire him via trade.
Yeah, they didn't do a trade or anything like that.
The only guy they acquired via trade, I believe, was it Chris Bosh via trade, or was he a free agent at the time?
I believe Chris Bosh was a free agent as well. I want to say it was a trade. I don't think nobody got any pieces for them.
So there you go.
The problem is, though, the difference was that KG had already came out and said he wanted out of Minnesota because they were losing. I remember he had that interview with John Thompson a while back on Inside the NBA on the court, and he was in tears. You guys want to look at that interview, go back and YouTube it. And he was in tears, and he talked about how hard it was being a part of an organization that he loved, and the fact that he just, he wants to win. He wants to win. He was loyal to the organization,
right?
And he wanted to win, but it was hard for them. And the next thing you know, like a year after that season ended, KG left and went to Boston. And I think it was for Ray Allen. I know some inside sources. Ray Allen went I believe he came from Milwaukee, right, and went over to. He wasn't at Seattle. He went to Milwaukee, and then he left and went to
that's
Boston.
right. Yep.
Well, I know some inside source that's told me about Ray Allen when he was in Milwaukee, that Milwaukee wasn't liked in the city, and people knew he was an a-hole kind of people, and a lot of even the organization they didn't like him as well, so he was going to be gone anyway. So they kind of had a heads up. You see what I'm saying? Is LeBron kind of didn't give nobody a heads up. He kind of just he loved Cleveland, boom, and he was didn't say anything, and then it was kind of like that decision making that he did. That was the first time Dan Gilbert and those guys heard about it.
Yeah.
So they were kind of all gun-holed and what to do, and didn't know what to do at the time.
Right.
And it was damn, we found out the same time everybody else found out, on air. Nothing was, no agent, nobody has come back and give him a heads up to do things. So that's where that part lies. And then you have someone like Kawhi Leonard now who's a restricted free agent, but it's basically strong-arming the Spurs. They're saying, hey, I want out. I don't care what you got to do. I want to go to L.A. I want to be in L.A. And then he doesn't have a typical agent. His uncle is pretty much his
as you
his
mentioned
agent.
last night.
Yeah. So
I don't think most people know that.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I didn't realize that.
Kawhi Leonard does not have an agent. His uncle is his agent. That's his uncle. That's kind of what they go by, and so.
Does the uncle have other clients too?
No.
So Kawhi's the only one.
Kawhi's the only one they deal with, and then so it's different how the Spurs used to do business a certain way.
Yeah.
And they used to work with the agents and kind of work with them and how they do things. And Kawhi Leonard kind of changed that by having now he has his uncle in there, and his uncle does stuff, and so it's yo, we're leaving.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
Kind of like a LeVar Ball behind the scenes, but not as provocative and out there like that. So, that's what Popovich is dealing with. So Popovich went down to San Diego to go talk to Kawhi today. We don't know how that came out.
We don't know, right? Nothing came out about it today.
All they said is Kawhi had told Pac right in front of his face that he doesn't want to be in San Antonio. So that's the only thing that's been told.
And look, I think once the Spurs, he's going to be traded eventually. Because I argued last night here on the program, it's not going to be a good look for the Spurs if Kawhi is defiant that he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a good look for them to keep him on the roster for another year until he becomes a free agent in 2019.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a good look. It could happen, but it's not going to be a good look. I really think that they will trade him. Now, if it's to the Lakers or another team, that remains to be seen. I think this is really going to follow the Chris Paul situation last year with the Pacers, where the Pacers decided to trade him to Oklahoma City. And then here now he becomes a free agent in 2019. I think it's going to follow suit. I wouldn't be surprised. I know the Celtics have been thrown out there as a team that could be very interested. I'm sure some of that interest that is sparking Danny Ainge is, his competitiveness with the Lakers and with the talks of the Lakers obviously being the premier and the preferred choice for Leonard at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny Ainge is getting the competitive juices flowing, and that's why he's trying to make a push here. However, if they do, he's going to be a Laker in 2019 at the latest. That's how I look at it. Regardless of where he's traded to.
Honestly, the way I look at it, it could be a 3-way trade deal going into it, to get to land him, because the Spurs are not going to strictly work with the Lakers. Now, what the Lakers have to be careful with is that Phoenix Suns, because Phoenix Suns and the Spurs, I can see them talking together and saying, hey,
for the first pick,
bring it and let's work the Lakers in the deal to land Kawhi Leonard, but pretty much they would deplete everybody. Ingram, Kuz, and probably Lonzo, because look, let's just look at this for a second.
Yeah.
I can see something like this happening and saying Phoenix Suns, which has come out and said that, and it was a rumor, but I think there's some truth to this, that the Phoenix Suns have talking to the Lakers about Lonzo and that Luol Deng deal.
Yes, I think so too.
I think there's some truth to that.
I forget which outlet first reported that,
yes,
but it has kind of grown legs now a little bit in
yes,
the past 24 hours or so.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of validity to it.
I think there's some truth to that, and I think what they're going to do is how they're going to play this is that they're going to go ahead and give the Spurs and saying, we'll give you Lakers, give us Lonzo and that $18 million deal, that would be the trade-off.
This is Phoenix.
For Phoenix.
Yeah.
Give us we'll take that $18 million deal, but you got to give us Lonzo. Then I can see, no problem.
From the Lakers, that's
but
how I'm looking
where
at
it lies. Then I can see Spurs going back and saying, I want Kawhi and I want Kuz and Ingram for Kawhi. And I can see them, and that's where it comes down to where you have that 3-way deal. But then I can see probably out of that deal, I can see Kuz or one of those guys, somebody else packaging and going over to the Spurs from Phoenix. I can see something like that happen. Maybe Ingram and them were there, but they'll probably give up like a Patty Mills or somebody else to go over to Phoenix.
Yeah, his name's been tossed around.
Yeah, and I'm going over to Phoenix. So I can see a 3-way deal happening there that way. And then, then you got all your guys to put. You got the top 3 guys that you have all gone. And
here's where you got to be careful if you're the Lakers.
You don't know if Kawhi going to resign back.
Lakers fans are frustrated with how things have been going the last couple of years. I mean, they missed the playoffs for 5 straight years now. Everyone's frustrated. They want to see this team get off of the ground here and start to take off and make some noise in the postseason. We all want to see that. They have to be careful, though, not to mortgage the future and not to give up a guy like Kyle Kuzma. To me, he's off limits because I can't give up the farm, Keith. I can't do it for as talented and as great as a player Kawhi Leonard is when he's healthy. That's the key word, and I don't know what his long-term health is going to be at this point. And I'm surely not going to trade, especially when I know he's a free agent next year. I am not going to give up the entirety of the team and let San Antonio have free range over who they're going to select on my roster.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do it, especially when I'm going to sign Paul George in all likelihood, and LeBron James is becoming more of a reality every day.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. You got to be careful not to mortgage the future here and just try and get these big 3 guys in, because we know LeBron's probably only got, even if he does come to the Lakers, he's only got like 2 more years, 3 at the most in all likelihood at this high level. So you got to be careful with that. If you're the Lakers, it's a tightrope walking act they got to do here.
Honestly, the way I look at it, I think you deal Lonzo and the Luol Deng deal.
Yeah, get rid of that contract.
Get rid of that contract, that $37 million contract. You get rid of that, and then you go back and, hey, if Spurs want to go and do a trade or whatever the case may be, I'll give you Brandon Ingram, but I can't give you Kuz and Brandon Ingram. And I think you have to give up one, and if you can't make that deal, then, hey, you say, you know what? All right, well, we're going to let Kawhi go where he wants to go. And from there, we'll just wait. We'll wait on it for the following year, And I will focus on, look, we know probably Paul George, that's the thing. It's been a lot of stuff going on saying Paul George is going to go stay back in OKC, which honestly, I told you from the get-go, I didn't think he was going to go just automatically just go to the Lakers.
Yeah, I know. You thought that he's going to probably re-sign with OKC.
I just go back to his comment after he lost in the series they got eliminated. He said, well, I would like to be a Thunder, but we'll see where the chips may fall, So it's not like he has bad blood with the Thunder.
No.
It's just that
it's not about that.
It's for him, like, I want to be close, I want to be home. But I think what it is also is like, hey, I'm trying to be a part of a team that's going to compete for a championship. And remember, Paul George has been to a semifinal in the Eastern Conference and a final in the Eastern Conference before. He's never got over the hump to get to the finals. So I can see that. I can see him possibly, it all depends on what LeBron does, man. If LeBron decides to come to LA, then I say Paul George comes.
And that's why you said he's obviously going to wait
to
see what LeBron does.
If LeBron James does not come, I think Paul George stays. I think we'll get Kawhi Leonard, but I think we'll get Kawhi Leonard in the following year. But still, if that's the case, I would still trade away Lonzo in that Luol Deng deal, so I will have cap space to be able to do what I want to do at the end in 2019.
So Lonzo and Luol Deng to the Suns.
Yes.
For what does Phoenix give up in exchange?
Well, that's the exchange. What Phoenix Suns says, we'll take the 18 million.
They're just going to take the 18.
We'll take the $18 million contract, and we want a young asset. And that young asset is Lonzo Ball. I'll give it to him.
Okay. Yeah, I would do that. I would have it with no strings attached. That I would pull that trigger, no problem. Here's my deal with Paul George going back to the Thunder. In my view, that franchise has plateaued where they're at right now with the current roster.
Yeah, they're
unless they make a big splash here in free agency coming up or via a trade with somebody, I don't see them really improving to where they were last year. Russell Westbrook is going to continue to compile triple doubles like it's bread and butter. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to continue to do that. That's what he does best. He's somewhat of a stat compiler, you can make the argument of, and that's what they do. They're not good enough to beat a Golden State. They're not good enough to beat a Houston. Probably not good enough to beat San Antonio when they're healthy. So to me, at best, they're the fourth best team in the conference. I don't even know, Keith, if they're going to be better than the Jazz next year. Yeah. With the emergence of Donovan Mitchell and how that team got off to a really a great first year with Mitchell there in his rookie season, you would imagine that franchise is only going to get better. I just think that the Thunder have major soul-searching decisions to do with that franchise. They really need to I don't want to say they want to blow it up, but they need to make a drastic type of change to elevate that team. And I don't know if Paul George, if he, obviously the big reason to come to the Lakers, like you said, he's from here. That helps a lot. We've seen that before with other players and making big-time free agent decisions in the past. So that's going to be the main reason he comes here. But also, obviously, the Lakers probably have a lot more upside because they're a younger team right now than the Thunder, and they're at two different spots. So yeah, I don't know if I see him going back to OKC. I actually could see him going to a different team instead.
Yeah.
I could see him maybe going to San Antonio or Houston potentially. I don't know if that fits in 100% with what those teams want to do, but I can see him more so going to those teams, especially if he wants to win now, win in 22, because it's not going to happen with the Thunder. No, I think that's probably one of the things that's you can kind of bank on at this point. One of the things I'm just not a big believer in OKC with the current makeup of the roster. They're going to make noise here in the next year or two. Now they could they could change my mind if they mix things up a bit, but I just don't see it at this point. I don't see it from that organization that has allowed Kevin Durant to walk away and has traded James Harden. I just don't know. They've let some big marquee players go. I don't really understand what they're doing there and what direction they're moving in, per se. I think they're still trying to figure it out at this point in time. So that's my argument against Paul George going back to OKC for another season and maybe beyond as well. So I'm starting to believe, honestly, though, Keith, that even if LeBron doesn't come here, I get this sense from just all kind of different reports that we're hearing and seeing that it's almost you can pencil him into the Lakers because he wants to come home. Like we talked about. Even if LeBron doesn't come here, I feel like, especially at this point where you can make the case that he's in the prime of his career, Paul George, I think he wants to. He doesn't want to come here to L.A. in his hometown when he's at the tail end of it. I get that sense.
Yeah.
I get that sense that he wants to put on a little bit of a show for some friends and family, sort of say. Not in the cocky sense, but he just wants to show off his talents, what he's got here in his career at this point in time, and I think he wants to do that here and now and not wait down the line. So I'm starting to believe even more so if LeBron doesn't come to the Lakers, I still think Paul George is somewhat of a shoo-in at this point.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, look, he lives out here, like you said. But you know what? There's a lot of guys that live out here, too.
That's true.
Russell Westbrook lives out here, and you see what he did. There was one point in time we were talking about Russ coming back.
Look, the best thing the Lakers have going for the franchise right now is the location and the history of the franchise.
And the amount of players they have that are from L.A. Yeah, I was sitting there talking to a buddy of mine. I was like, man, if you think about the Lakers, there's so many players in L.A. that are from here that play in the NBA, and I'm like, how do they not get those guys?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, it's a dream. It's a dream come true when you come. These guys are born and raised here. I mean, Trevor Ariza has become a franchise player. I can see Trevor. Well, Trevor wants another championship, but he's going to be meeting up with. It's a possible that Trevor can be back with the Lakers. That's a possibility. He's back here every summer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He's back here every summer. And he's working. He has camps and things like that. He does at Westchester High School. I can see that happening. You got Klay Thompson's not coming. Klay Thompson's like where he's at, even though he's doing a camp out here in LA this year.
So we can shoot down any reports of him maybe being interested next summer.
No, he's not coming. Klay Thompson will be a Warrior if they all stay intact.
Yeah,
he'll be a Warrior.
Hey, they might not even need him at that point. We'll see.
We'll see.
The Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers probably won't. But there's some other guys out there that I think the Lakers should also, pursue and think about.
Would Clint Capella be a good idea for this team?
No.
Would he fit on this team at all?
No. Not what they do. Like, it depends on what they're going to do. If they're somebody I would pick up, honestly, is JaVale McGee.
Yeah, you've mentioned him before, I think. Yeah,
I think you should. I mean, if you run the pick and roll, he's a big body. He can block shots. He can be a knucklehead sometimes, but he's got 2 rings, championships. He blocks shots. He's a pick and roll type of guy, and that's what you need, someone to clutter the middle, and you need a big guy like that. I don't like the big guys like Brook Lopez who shoots the 3 and 3 ball. I couldn't stand that.
Been there, done that.
I'm tired of that.
Been there, done that.
Go on. They need to send him somewhere else, and I'm sure he's
talking about big guys, and we'll get to the Dwight Howard trade in a moment. That Timothy Mozgov, another former Laker, big guy, didn't work out really well here. On the move again.
Yep. And
so it speaks volumes of these guys who were involved in a lot of trades in a relatively short amount of time. You know what I'm saying? That movement, it speaks volumes to those guys as far as not being a franchise cornerstone type of a player.
You need people here who want to be here and want to win. The problem with the Lakers, when the Lakers were winning championships, you had guys who just wanted to play here. They would take the league minimum. They would take less because they know they were competing with championships, and that's what you're getting over at Golden State now.
Yes.
You're getting, like, man, it's a 90% chance this team's going to be back in the finals.
Right.
I'm going to roll with that because I'm at the tail end of my career. That's what Nick Young did. That's what a lot of the other players, Derrick Rose, I believe, is jumping on that wagon.
Yeah. Nick Young, by the way, living the dream by all accounts right now.
Yeah.
I mean, just having the time of his life.
Exactly. But he may be gone this year, too, so we'll see. You know what I mean? He may be gone from the Golden State Warriors because there's a talk about Jamal Crawford going over there, so that maybe takes some, So you don't know. You got Sean Livingston. You got all those guys there. But, I think what the Lakers would need is you need a big that's going to roll to the basket, a shot blocker type of player. And then you need, like we mentioned, our guest that I mentioned yesterday about shooters. You need shooters out there if you're going to play that type of style of play. A person that I would think about they should re-sign is Isaiah Thomas. Like, yeah, he had hip surgery, but Isaiah Thomas was putting up 20-something points. He came in and immediately made an immediate impact to the game. Immediate. And that's the type of guy, Magic loves him. But the problem is Isaiah wants a max deal. I think you sit down with Isaiah's agent, and you come to amends or something comparable to that, and saying, hey, look, we're trying to make it to the finals. We're possibly bringing LeBron James over, or whatever the case may be. We can't give you a max deal, but we can give you something close to it, and go that route, because now you got a PG that can score, that can put up numbers, that can dish off and pass, and also you got to remember he was in that year. A couple years ago he was in talks of being MVP of the league. So
yeah, not that far removed from that.
Yeah, I'll say you get rid of and you have somebody like Josh Hart back him up. That's what I think they should do. I think they should move that Lonzo, and that ship has sailed. So. Those guys are not going to – he's just not going to be the right guy for, I think, what they want to do.
It's hard to disagree with it just based off of, like I said before, different guys that they have shuffled in and out of here the last couple of seasons. Lakers fans are tired of it. They want guys who might not necessarily be, the most talented guys, but they're the right players for this franchise. This team, what they want to do, X's and O's wise with Luke Walton and everything else, they want the right players in here that make the most sense for this team. Again, they're tired of the Brook Lopez's, no offense, but it's not working. Did not work here.
No.
The Timofey Mozgovs, they've seen that long list of guys that just does not equal success for this team long term. And that's what it's about. I think this is even more challenging than some people may even want to admit with Magic Johnson in the front office that they have to do here this summer. The pressure to land big-time superstars, which is somewhat self-imposed, and also to make sure you keep the existing young talent they've drafted in recent years, and being able to additionally add some other guys who, like you said, the JaVale McGee's of the world. Those type of players, they got to go out and they got to get those guys. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I think they welcome that. They have welcomed that, but it's a lot more pressure on them than, like I said, I think some Lakers fans would want to admit as far as for them to get this right. I mean, let's face it, 5 straight years now not making the playoffs. Historically, before that 5-year run, they only missed the playoffs like 4 times in the history of the franchise, all time.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there's a lot of pressure again here. I'll go back to that to get this right and to get the train back on the track, so to say.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. In that aspect of things, and they got to make. The thing is you also want to see what else is out there as well. I think when you focus on just LeBron and Paul and Kawhi,
yep,
then you lose track of everybody else who's available. And there's a lot of valuable guys out there that want a shot and would love to be in LA. And so what I'm looking at is like, hey, yeah, we can focus. I think Kobe Bryant kind of hinted that already with them saying, hey, don't put all your chips in one basket on LeBron James, or don't focus on just bringing LeBron here, because I think Kobe knows something that nobody else knows. He's not there. He's not jealous of LeBron James coming to the Lakers. He's trying to work with the Lakers and trying to bring back championships. So exactly. I think it's something that he probably already knows and saying, hey, I've already talked to him. Let's kind of let go focus on something else right now, because he's coming. You don't need to focus on that. Maybe that's what it is.
Could be that too.
It could be that. So you never know. There's other people that, Damian Lillard's not too happy. He's happy with Portland. Let me clarify that. He is happy being at Portland. He wants to stay at Portland. He wants Portland to do well. He wants to stay there and kind of get things going and get them back on the right track, and he's been very loyal. But I know in the back of his mind, I know there's some frustration of movement and when moves are going to come,
Yeah.
When
and that's a tough spot to be in for a guy who is a perennial all-star type player. When you're in a spot like that with an organization that it's at ground zero, that's tough. We saw that. We saw that with Kobe back in 2006, 2007, those quick early first-round exits to the Suns in consecutive years there or so. Very frustrating for superstar-type players, obviously, especially if you're used to winning in the past before that current point in time.
And there's already been talk. LeBron James would love to play with Damian Lillard. He has even said that. That's come out. He's come out and even said.
Are they boys? Are they tight?
They're good friends.
Yeah.
They're cool. Like he's come out and said that give me Damian Lillard and I can show you what we can do with Damian Lillard. You know, so
I wasn't sure what the relationship was like there.
They're cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how close they are, but I know they're cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Dame is kind of cool with most of the players in the league. You know, he's a likable guy. So, but it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what happens. I think Portland needs to make some moves. There's a lot of people that need to make moves, and, you know, and we'll see what happens because when you look down the line, I'm like, I don't even know. Portland has the 24th pick, and Lakers have the 25th pick, and that's from Cleveland.
That's right.
So, you know, it gets real thin after number 10, you know?
I know, and that's why they're pushing the attention of the fans to free agency this summer. I mean, as it should be, because let's face it, they've been in the lottery the last couple of years. You don't want to be a team who's in the lottery year after year after year. You know what I mean? You definitely do want to focus. You got to build to the draft at some point. At some point, you got to do it, and you got to hit on guys that way. But you also got to do right in free agency as well, and that's where the attention should be focused on. They'll get somebody at 25 again, like I mentioned last night. Everyone now is no one's even looking to draft the next LeBron James because that's so just far-fetched, and, you know, the chances are so slim of those players coming along.
The next LeBron James is probably Zion Williams.
Could be.
It could be.
Zion
Williams is that Duke. Plays just like LeBron, a little bit of Zebo. I say that's probably the next LeBron. He's built like a tank. So
he's big.
It depends on what he does at the college world this upcoming season. If he dominates the way he's capable of dominating, like the way he dominated in high school, oh yeah, he's LeBron.
My point is, though, everyone's looking for the next, like I said last night, Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Where can I find that guy in the draft? Terry Rozier.
And
go down the list.
Yeah, Dennis, and you know, there's a lot of guys out there, and the last year's draft was pretty good.
For the Lakers.
For the Lakers.
It was.
And just in general, the quality of players that played this year.
Yeah.
There was a lot of them out there. Kuz was a diamond in the rough for the Lakers.
Exactly.
They didn't expect that to be where it is, but their number one pick wasn't great. So their second pick wasn't great. So when you look at things, it's just about, you know, finding that guy, but also who's going to fit your system. See, they can be a great player, but if they can't fit your system, it's not going to work. They're not going to flourish in that. And a prime example of a player that was like that, and we can go to it, is Dwight Howard. You know, Dwight Howard hasn't really fit a system since he's left Orlando. And he just hasn't been there. And it's not just it has nothing to do with injury, because I think you're never the same after your injury. That's number one.
That is for sure.
But especially a back injury. But I think he had a solid year last year, this past season with the Hornets, but I guess it didn't quite fit what they're going to do or what they're going to do in the future. And that's a prime example. So it's about really like what player is going to fit my system and what I do. That's why the Lakers were so great back in the day in the 2000s when they dominated, because they ran the triangle offense with Phil Jackson and Tex Winter, who was assistant. They ran that triangle offense, but did they have an Allen Iverson ball handler on that team? No. Did they have a Damian Lillard, a Kyrie Irving ball handler on that team? No. Did they have a Steph Curry? No. Their guys weren't great ball handlers. They were great slashers to the basket, and so that's what the triangle offense was used for. It was moving the ball and just movement. It was less dribbling and more movement, and those are players that were there that played great in that system, and that's what they're going to – whatever Luke is running this year, he's got to have players that's going to fit that system, and that's where the draft comes into play and who's going to be best fit for the Lakers.
So the news today, like you mentioned, Keith, with Dwight Howard, he gets traded from the Hornets to the Nets in exchange for Timofey Mozgov, who Lakers fans know all too well about, 2 second-round picks and cash. That's what Charlotte receives in return. See, I mean, here's my take on Dwight Howard at this point in time. You and I were talking about this off the air before the show tonight a little bit. Dwight Howard is a guy who has vastly underachieved, in my estimate, throughout his career. And whether that's fair or not, it's fair in the sense that he was drafted number 1 overall. So everything is always going to be comparing him to that type of stature, right? You're drafted first overall, especially if you come out of high school, which he was one of the last to do so before they implemented the one and done. Expectations are going to be through the roof. Like you said, I mean, obviously when he was with Orlando, that was his heyday with the Magic. They got to 1 NBA Finals against the Lakers in 2009. They came up short, and he's never gotten back since. He's been a little bit of a problem child with some teams. He's had some antics. Things did not go too well when he came here with the Lakers. That was a total flop of a disappointment during that era with Steve Nash, Nash's injuries. Nothing really worked out well under Mike D'Antoni during that era. So then, and he's bounced around now over the last couple of seasons with a bunch of different teams. When you start bouncing around, Keith, and like I made a point earlier about guys who you see get shuffled in and out of different organizations, that's not good at the end of the day, because it means that you're just not good enough, not consistent enough. Probably is the right thing to say. To be with a certain team for a certain amount of time. Now, maybe you can make the case, like, to your point, it's all about getting guys that works for a certain system, under certain coaches and certain teams, etc. You can make the case maybe he hasn't had the best of coaches and the best of, type of offenses that have catered to his game. But, he's bounced around enough that you would think if it would click at some point, it would have at this point in time. Yeah. So to me, I just look at, I can't say he's a bust because he has, this is a guy who's averaged double-double in 14 seasons consecutively. But again, it's about how you do in the postseason, and the conference finals into the championship round. And, he's only been there once. And we've heard basically crickets from him on those stages since. Well, I think he's a great, again, somewhat of a stat compiler type player. Great stats, great individual type player on certain things. But I do not think, if someone asked me, do you think he's lived up to that number 1 overall pick, those expectations, I would say no. No, I don't think he has.
Well, look, you got to remember something. When Dwight was over there at Orlando, he was arguably the best center in the league. There was that time it was out of him and Andrew Bynum.
And that's true. We forget that now. We do forget that.
And you got to also remember when he came to the Lakers, the guy was playing with a torn labrum. You know how hard it is to play with a torn labrum and still put up double-doubles? That's insane. So for me, like, I look at it as he really didn't get a fair shot with the Lakers. And that's my opinion. That he didn't really get a fair shot with the Lakers. The dude had a torn labrum. I know what it feels to have a messed up back. It hurts, and you cannot play on it. And I stand by that cold-heartedly. When he went over to Houston, he wasn't now his injuries up and he's playing and things like that. But James Harden wanted him out, and whatever the case may be with that, I don't know what that was about. Who knows? But it seems like when he went over to Hornets, he was happy. And he started to get himself back in the swag of things, and he played well. Dwight, he went back, Dwight played well. No, he went from there to the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah. And then Atlanta Hawks to the Hornets. Dwight needed what he needed is, again, a smaller market. He was more of a smaller market type of player.
Bingo.
And I think that's what it really comes down to, was that. And in the system, I think Stan Van Gundy had a great system for him, and that's what it is. A lot of other players didn't have that. A lot of coaches didn't have that for him. I think the Hornets did a great job with him, and I think he was happy over there at Charlotte. He did a great thing, and I don't see why I don't know what that deal is. I still think personally, it happens to deal with Mitch Kupchak. Because Mitch Kupchak was a Lakers, and they're saying that him and Mitch had a little falling out or whatever the case may be, and Dwight just got up and left and went over to Houston, and so I think
almost in the middle of the night.
I think that's a little bit of Mitch Kupchak.
Yeah.
That was saying, you know what, I'm gonna throw a shot. We're gonna take Timothy Mozgov, which is like I don't understand that whole move. I kind of left my head. I was scratching my head like, why did they do that? But then it made sense. Well, Mitch Kupchak's the coach over there. Something I remember.
Yeah, something.
That's all. That's some history right there. So I think it has something to have to do with that. It's fortunate the situation that he's in. He's over there at the Nets now. And you can't just make an adjustment. When you're with a team, you got to give, a new player going to a new system. It takes them about 2 years to really adjust to the new system, new players who are playing. It takes a while. So
is it fair to say that he almost was wrong place, wrong era type of a player where we saw, like you said, at one point he was considered one of the best centers in the league around whenever they made that trade, the Lakers, 6-7 years ago now, to bring him to L.A. And then we see this transition of the game to a much, much different type of league than it was when he first came into the league overall, Keith. So is it maybe does some of the criticism maybe come in the fact that he kind of gets lost in the shuffle because the league evolved when he was in his prime?
I don't think it's that, Brad. I think really what it is I think he should have never left Orlando in the first place. I think him and Stan Van Gundy needed to amend that. And I think it comes to also the front office because the system was built around him. Yeah. And I think if he had stayed in Orlando, look, Dwight Howard would be the most dominant center in the league, which he arguably was. Remember, he was like the next Shaq, what people were saying. So, I think that was the whole thing right there. They were talking about him coming in with the Lakers and this and that. And it would have been a great fit, but I think he should never have left Orlando Magic. I think he should have stayed there. And I think that's part of Dwight's fault. That's part of Stan Van Gundy's fault. And that's part of the front office's fault for making that happen. And who suffered the most out of this? Let me tell you, the person who suffered the most out of this has been Dwight. But the second person who suffered is Stan Van Gundy, because look what Stan Van Gundy is right now, unemployed again.
That's a great point. It's a really great point. My thing is obviously, he did have the injury problems, but for 3 years, Keith, 3 years from 13 to 15. He couldn't take this team. And now, again, the Lakers, they just had, horrible luck with injuries during that stretch. But still, he just never evolved into that player that we saw in Orlando with the Lakers. It really never came together like that. So you really think it was the injuries for all 3 years? I don't think – no. I don't think it was all 3 years the injury. I just think that it takes a good – okay, like an ankle injury, what people don't know is – or some people do know this, but when you sprain your ankle severely, it takes really a year for it to fully heal back. It doesn't take 6 months. It takes a full year. That's why the old saying goes, if you train your ankle, sometimes it's better to break it. Yeah. It's true.
But it takes a full year for your ankle to heal back. When I tore my shoulder up, it didn't take 6. I can have as much physical therapy as I want, but for me to get my full range of motion, a full year. For a back injury and a surgery, it's going to take him a full year. He didn't have a full year. And I'm talking from the start when he gets his labrum fixed. Dwight played on a torn labrum from the whole season with the Lakers. A torn labrum. He got the surgery done at the end of I believe he shouldn't have played in anyway. So him having that injury and then he goes back and he plays with Houston, he never even fully recovered from that. He hadn't. So that was his fault and his camp's fault for even being out there, and that's what the whole thing of being cautious. But then he's searching for a whole team. So I don't think for 3 years straight. Now, it's no excuse the way I don't know the reason why he left Houston. Nobody really knows except that James Harden wanted him out, but nobody understood why. I don't know that maybe Clint Capella was a better fit for what they were doing, and that's obviously the case. But then when he went over to the Hawks, that was his time really. He went back home to Atlanta. That was his time really to now showcase what he can do and bring the Hawks back, and that didn't happen. It didn't work out. Then it ended up going over to the Hornets. Now the Hornets, I started to see Dwight more of himself a little bit more, and you start to see how he was playing, how well he was, and I think like just that alone, I think if he got another year with them, they would have been a pretty solid team. I think that just has to do with they brought in Mitch Kupchak, and it's something personal. It's history. It's something personal between him and Dwight, and I think that's why that whole trade was made. They're gonna say it was a business decision, but dude, that was a personal decision. That was personal. I think that's what that whole trade was about because of the history they had and the rumors that were going around. Now, Dwight and them could have been cool, but I don't think him and Mitch Kupchak were that cool. You know,
They couldn't have been.
Yeah.
From what we're seeing now.
You know, so I think it has something to do with that, and that's why he traded. Come on, you traded him for Timmy Mozgov for nothing, and a second-round pick. You don't trade a Dwight Howard because he's still valuable. He's still worth something for a Timothy Mozgov in the second-round pick. And Timothy Mozgov didn't do I believe Timothy Mozgov may have played no more than like 3 or 4 games for the Lakers.
Yeah, if that.
If that. So
he lived right over here in Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, enjoying the beach and churching off some money. You know, but that's, you know, come on. Like, that's trading him for just pennies,
like a bag of basketballs.
Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
like that is something personal, and I'm pretty sure Timothy Mozgov not going to play for the Hornets, and that second round pick, whatever they pick up that person, they send him down to D League, but they're moving cap space for something possibly coming in and stuff. So I don't, you know,
Mozgov might as well just retire. You
Yeah.
might as well just retire and move back here.
Now the person they have to worry about is Kemba Walker.
Yeah.
That's the person you need to trade away because Kemba wants to play in the postseason and his contract's coming up, and I see Kemba leaving. So
He's gonna be a free agent next year.
yeah,
He's
out of there.
He's got to be.
He's out of there. So you got to.
I mean that from just a spectator's point of view,
Yeah.
that's just killer to watch a guy on a team that is really going nowhere still continue to
Exactly.
be there. So yeah, I mean you would think so unless Kupchak really starts to get things going big, and they start to acquire big time free agents, which I don't see. You would
Yeah.
think he's gone next year.
Yeah, I would think so. So, you know, that's what my whole spiel on Dwight Howard. I think he didn't get a fair. I think they should have left him there for another year. Who knows what the reason was, but I think it was personal. I think he was happy there. But now he's over at the Nets. Hopefully he can find a home there. If not, and maybe that's his last stop. I don't know. Or there's need to be a situation where maybe he needs to demand to go back to Orlando. They can still use him.
They could. I mean, they haven't improved at all since he's left.
I would request that if I was Dwight. I would like send me back to Orlando. Make a trade, make a deal.
Small market. Go back to where it all started, like you said. He should have just stuck it out there in the first place. They should have made it work.
Yep.
And they didn't. It's Behind the Mic. We're live from Grunions Sports Bar and Grill here in Manhattan Beach over on Sepulveda Boulevard. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll do a little NBA mock draft. Draft coming up, of course, tomorrow night from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. We'll go through, give you a couple of our top picks who we think is going to go where, how the Lakers are going to do, etc. Coming up also in hour number 2, we'll get into the Tom Brady Oprah interview that aired on Sunday, Phil Mickelson, a little bit of a U.S. Open wrap-up, and Major League Baseball going to play a kickoff regular season game prior to the College World Series in 2019. What do you think about it? We'll talk about that and more coming back after this.
Every 17 years, Make-A-Wish makes the impossible possible. They tame dragons. They bring Saturn to Earth. They help superheroes save entire cities. They even make unicorns fly. All to give children the strength they need to fight their critical illnesses. Every wish takes muscle. Help us make sure every wish comes true. Join us at wish.org.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event.
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cool time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Everybody buckle up.
Mom, 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 mom.
Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom, can we get some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cool time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome back inside Grunions Sports Bar and Grill, Behind the Mic, live online, BehindTheMicShow.com. Download that Behind the Mic app. Check us out, our live stream going on right now, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Like I said last night, no excuses not to catch us. Plenty of platforms to check out the program at this point in time. Talking NBA again tonight. We talked a little Dodgers at the beginning of the show. If you're just tuning in, Dodgers fell today. They had that matinee against the Cubs, so they dropped 2 out of 3. That 5-series winning streak came to an end today, but not too bad. Boys in Blue are on the right track and doing some good things as we are just about less than a month out now from the All-Star game taking place in Washington, D.C. We've also been talking about Dwight Howard being traded today from the Hornets to the Nets in exchange for Timothy Mozgov and a couple of draft picks and cash. NBA draft, of course, coming up tomorrow night. We want to get into now a little mock draft of who we would pick, Keith. Who we would pick. Let's go through maybe 1 through 5, 1 through 10. Number 1 overall, I'm thinking I know who you're going to take. We're both probably going to be in agreement with this one. In the first pick in Keith Jackson's NBA draft, he takes
Marvin Bagley Jr.
Uh-huh.
The third. I'm taking him first pick of the NBA draft.
And it's amazing how you think about it, like Duke has always been, just talking about Duke for a second and the guys that they've produced here, they've always been a program that's produced a lot of great players, obviously, but even more so now, it's like they've kicked the recruiting into high gear, whereas they're only, Krzyzewski is only getting more hot and heavy on the recruiting trail last couple of seasons, it seems that way, and they're only getting better and better blue chip type players year after year. And, we're seeing that. You mentioned some earlier. Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be a guy that's going to be somewhat of a steal in this draft for wherever he goes to. If not in the top 10, probably the top 15. So they continue to churn out some really good players. The fact that he comes from a great program there is a big reason why I know you're taking him at number 1. It's hard to disagree with that. And the fact that, like we talked about him extensively last night here on the show, he's a guy who's only going to get better shooting in the paint and then going outside as well, whereas DeAndre Ayton, not quite as much.
Exactly.
It's a different type of deal with him.
Yeah, I think what the Phoenix is trying to do, and I mentioned this yesterday, is that they're trying to get up and down the floor. And if you're trying to get up and down the floor with and the way the game's evolved, DeAndre Ayton's not that guy, because he's not the type of guy where he's going to get up and down the floor. He's conditioning-wise. He's a big, strong guy. He's big in terms of clogging up the middle and things like that. They said he pick and rolls well, but not a great shooter. He can just get to the basket and, let's say, slow the game down a little bit. I think that's not what you want. And then you have a coach who's a Euro coach who likes to fast break a lot and shoot and want to get back to that D'Antoni era. He's not the answer. I think Marvin Bagley is. He's a 6'10 guy, lanky. He can take you off the dribble. He can pull up the 15-footer. He can shoot the 3. He can drive to the basket. And, I forgot to tell you, he's a good ball handler, and he plays defense. I think he's the number 1 pick overall. He's the better guy out the draft, and he fits Phoenix style and what they want to do. And he's a winner.
Would you be shocked at this point if Phoenix trades away that number 1 pick?
I wouldn't be shocked. It depends on where they trade it to. If they trade it, I wouldn't be shocked. I think that...
See, I would at this point.
Well,
because they've never had it, and you can't tell me that whoever they get in exchange back, they're ultimately going to get as good value out of that type of player, because it's not like they're a team that's one guy away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just starting from scratch here, new head coach, new everything, essentially.
But make the right decision on what you want and
right,
what's going to fit your personnel, not for a guy who's big because you've never had a center in the history of the league. You never had a great center.
I agree with that.
And my thing is, I beg to differ. You did have a good center. Amari Stoudemire was a forward center, is what you used, and he was 6'10", and he was a great player for you guys. So I mean, you want a dominant big center. I think that DeAndre Ayton is not dominant. He was in the Pac-12. He didn't do that much. He didn't do really that much for the Pac-12. And see, these guys, people are basing on what they did in in AAU circuit and what they did 1 year in high school. Well, that's high school. College is different. And the way I look at it, he didn't go further. He didn't even make it to the 32 in the NCAA tournament. Why would I pick up somebody like that? You didn't even win the You didn't even win the Pac-12. You know, why would I pick?
Well, they won the Pac-12 conference tournament.
Well, they won the Pac-12 conference tournament. Yeah, they did, but he wasn't a big asset to that. But you didn't go far in the NCAA tournament, and that's where you really decide what these players can really do and what they can't do. So I don't agree with the pick. Hopefully they go with a Marvin Bagley Jr.
Yeah, I hope so too. That's my guy as well. Like we've been talking about, he should go number 1 overall. He's the most talented player. What we can see here so far, what he's done, not only on paper, but what he's done in college as well. So yeah, I think it's very big that obviously Phoenix, they keep this number 1 pick, which I think they probably will. It would take almost everything for them to give up this pick. So I think they keep it. And I with DeAndre Ayton, like you said, it's such an unknown, Keith. He hasn't really proven that he's number 1 worthy. Even though he's come out and he thinks he is worthy of that number 1 overall selection. A lot of people beg to differ, and he's got a lot to prove. Like I said last night, he reminds me of Greg Oden, and that scares me because Greg Oden did not have a good pro career.
Yes.
Not all of his fault, a lot of injuries, but still, that kind of scares me, and I just don't know if that what you got to do is, if you're picking a number 1 overall and you're making these decisions in that front office, you got to envision down the line. Yeah. Can I envision DeAndre Ayton being a cornerstone franchise-type player on my basketball team 7, 8, 9, 10 years even from now? Can I envision that? Yeah. And if I objectively look at it, Keith, can I envision DeAndre Ayton being that player? No, I can't.
No.
I can't do it. Can I envision Marvin Bagley? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I would distinct the two there, without a doubt. So we'll see what Phoenix does. It's going to be interesting tomorrow night. At number 2 is Sacramento. The Kings pick 2 overall. So let's say, Bagley goes number 1, Keith, in your mock. Who would you take at number 2 then? Do you go DeAndre Ayton at 2, or do you go over someone else at that point?
They already got a center. They got Willie Carlton over there. I don't think they need a center. I think what they need is like a power forward or a small forward, or maybe impossible a shooting guard. So honestly, when I look down the line, I look at what's available here. I would pick someone of.
Would you roll the dice with Luka Doncic at 2?
No. Well, maybe. No, he's too. To me, he is. He's too slow. I'll probably go with like someone like maybe. It's hard to say, but like a Dante DiVincenzo.
Okay.
A shooter. I would go, or a small forward, or you know what? I would go with. I'll probably go with. It's tough, man. I'm gonna go with Zaire Smith. Yeah.
Okay.
I like Zaire Smith. He's a shooter. He's a great shooter. He can get to the basket, take you off the dribble. They already got a great point guard, and we know what he can do. So you need a shooter out there. And look, he's 6'4". He's pretty big. I would go with someone like that, a shooting guard, because they already got Willie Caulkin. They already got bigs. They're missing a shooting guard and a small forward, but I would probably go with the shooting guard, a guy who's a consistent shooter and who can take you off the dribble.
You know who a lot of people are talking about is Mo Bamba out of Texas. I like his upside.
Yeah, he's going to be a potential. He's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of potential, but he's not. Again, it goes back to what you need, and they got centers already. They got 2 bigs over there in Sacramento already. I don't think they need that. I don't think they need another center. I think
So you think they're good there? You don't think they even need to add any depth to it at all?
No, they got 2. They got a backup center already. They got a great player, Willie Caulkin, who's a great center. They already have I think they go with a shooting guard and a shooting guard or power forward. I'll either go with Jaren Jackson Jr. or I will go with Zaire Smith.
How about Atlanta? What's the biggest need for the Hawks right now?
Everything.
As they pick at 3 in this draft, you're right. It is everything.
But you know what?
What gets them going on?
They
the
got
path
short.
of
They got
something good?
They got Schroeder right there. Right now, they got Schroeder, who's their starting point guard. You got a power forward. I would go with somebody who's going to make an impact, who's going to make an immediate impact. I think you bring somebody like a Colin Sexton back on the team from Alabama.
Yeah, you've been high on him for a while now.
Man, he's awesome. He is a winner.
Yeah.
Proven winner. I think you got to bring him in, and you can even move Schroeder over to being a shooting guard and him being the point guard. So I would go with a Colin Sexton.
Memphis comes in at number 4. The Grizzlies, Keith. Some draft boards have Jaren Jackson Jr. from Michigan State, who you mentioned before, going there to the Grizzlies. Preferably probably a forward at this point in time.
Yeah.
Someone that they need to fill. I mean, they're another team with a lot of different holes.
That is. And I think you start with a center because you got Marcus Gasol that's going down towards his end of his career.
Yeah.
And this is where maybe a Wendell Carter Jr. may come into play. Or
I'm telling you, whoever takes him,
Muhammad Mobamba, Bamba. I think those guys come into play, and you probably want somebody like Muhammad Bamba because he's bigger. He's 226 pounds. He's a big guy. He's big and solid. And if you're going to play that same type of style you play with Gasol, I would go with that.
Yeah, like I said, Wendell Carter Jr. Whoever takes him is going to get a steal of a player. Somewhat got overshadowed at Duke. Marvin Bagley somewhat overshadowed him, but I mean, a lot of these different boards have him going closer, like 9, 10. I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, Keith, if someone takes him 4 or 5 because he's that worthy of a player. He's got that much talent, just someone underrated. He's going to help a basketball team in some regard, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
The Dallas Mavericks pick at 5, in addition to Julius Randle going to Big D this summer, which we all know he's going. If not, he just hasn't listened to this program at this point in time. But as far as the draft goes for the Mavericks, what's their biggest need right now? Where's that franchise even at, if you think about it?
They're at a loss, right? They're still living in the Dirk Nowitzki days, and I think they got to get over that. Dirk is done. He's pretty old right now. He's done.
It's going to be like, is this going to be the swan song?
Yeah, I just think they need to get – there's a need there for a lot of things. I think they got their point guard right now, and he's, the rookie from last year, Dennis Smith Jr. And I think you need to go with maybe a power forward. And who I would select out of everybody that's here, I would a power forward or a center. I think this is probably a place for DeAndre Ayton in that aspect.
Yep.
Because they need a big inside. They don't play kind of like speedball. They kind of slow the ball down a lot and then play more of a half court set type of offense. Carlisle does, and he plays like a Roy. DeAndre Ayton plays to me like a Roy Hubert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was with the Pacers.
Yeah. So I would go with DeAndre Ayton over there.
It seems more appropriate that DeAndre Ayton would be selected somewhere 5, 6, 7, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I don't think we're shortchanging the guy at all.
No.
He's got a lot to prove. He's very much so a raw talent.
Exactly. He's a raw talent, but he's got a lot to prove, and that's where I would take him. I think he'll be a great fit for Dallas.
Speaking of the Orlando Magic, we were talking about them earlier. They pick tomorrow at 6. They need a point guard.
Yeah.
They need a point guard.
Trae Young.
If he's on the board, right?
Yeah.
I think you got to snag him.
I think you got to take Trae Young at number number 8?
6.
Number 6. I think Trae Young is a point guard that I would take him around that era right there. He can shoot the 3. Again, you got Aaron Gordon there. He's the man. But you can work with a lot of pick and roll action with those two. I think he fits well over there.
They're in almost a really good spot if you think about it at 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not at the very top where there's pressure to get it perfectly right, but at the same time, they're going to pick high enough that they're going to get a very, very talented cornerstone type player in all respects here, you would think. So not a bad spot for the Magic to be picking at 6. At 7 is the Bulls, Keith. And I've seen on draft boards Michael Porter Jr. going this high. You are absolutely crazy out of your mind if you take Michael Porter Jr.,
Yes.
for example, at
That
7.
that would be a huge mistake. That would be a huge mistake if the Bulls did that. The Bulls, there's a lot they need there, too. They need a lot. And, it depends. You can just pick your poison where you want to start at. I would honestly look at they got Zach LaVine over there. I think they need to get some more depth in their bench. Why not go with a defensive player, someone like DeAnthony Melton?
Okay, I like that.
A 6'4", 6'3" guy. Not a great, he can shoot the jump shot. He can get to the basket, get a lot of breakaways. I think I would go that route. I would go with somebody who was big and he can handle the ball, and that's a point guard at 6'3". That's a big point guard.
That is big.
And so in 193 pounds, so I would look as probably going that route. You haven't had somebody ever since Derrick Rose be dominant in that position.
Still searching for it.
And still searching for it. I would go that route.
The Cavs pick at 8th, Keith. This is the pick acquired from Brooklyn. Obviously, Cleveland is probably the one team this summer that has the most uncertainty to them, right?
Yeah. And people are saying,
how do they even approach this draft? You know what I mean? Like, with the uncertainty with LeBron and if he's going to come back, if he's not going to come back. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much uncertainty with this team. I'm talking about today. They want Kevin Love back regardless if LeBron comes back or not. How do they approach this pick?
I think you got to wait. I think what you do to approach this pick is that you look and see, okay, I would look at the fact that I would anticipate LeBron not coming back.
Yeah.
So anticipation that LeBron's not coming back, you want somebody in there. I think you want somebody in there who's gonna be the future of that franchise. You're gonna get some players like Kevin Love there, so you're gonna miss a big body. And like the pick and roll action is what they like to do. I know somebody. When I look down this list of all these players that are coming out, there's one player I've been high on, and I think is going to be a superstar in the league. He's very athletic. He had over 100 people go out and watch him and see what he was, how he plays, and that's Giannis' brother, Kostas Antetokounmpo.
Yes, another guy you've been really high on recently.
Yeah, I would go with Kostas Antetokounmpo because I think he's a great asset, and he's going to take him some time. But he's the future of the NBA. He's gonna be a beast.
Some people think maybe even better than Giannis.
Yeah, he can shoot, man. He can shoot the 3. He gets to the basket. He's just frail and skinny. He's got to get stronger, but he can shoot the 3. He can get to the basket. He's a high flyer, great rebounder. He reminds me of a Thon Maker, but he hasn't. He's got to get a little bit bigger and stronger. So I'm going with him.
The Knicks pick at 9, New York. Obviously, they got their superstar in Porzingis. He's injured. We don't know when he's going to come back. Probably not going to start the season. I can't imagine he's going to be there end of October, beginning of November. So there's still a little uncertainty there. But this is a team that needs a point guard. Make no mistake about it, right?
Aaron Holiday. I would go with the Holiday boy. I would go with UCLA's Aaron Holiday. I will go with him. He's a great point guard. He's seasoned. He'll be a great player for them. A great fit. He's been a 4-year player at UCLA. Coming out this year, he's going to be ready to go right then and there. And it's something different when you have a guy who's been there for 4 years and just knows how to play. They're seasoned and they're ready for the big league. I would select UCLA's Aaron Holiday.
The Sixers are next at 10 overall, Keith. That pick acquired from the Lakers, of course. It's amazing how it's almost like the Sixers have dropped off the face of the earth since they were outed in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics in the conference semis. Where should Philly go with this pick? They have a lot of pieces in place already.
They have a lot of pieces, but you don't know what's going to happen with J.J. Redick. You don't know if he's going to leave or not. I would go with Philly's own DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo? How about Bridges?
Bridges, DiVincenzo, Grayson Allen. Those are shooters. You need shooters on your team of what you've been doing, and that's the problem. They need guys who be able to knock down shots, and I don't know if J.J. Redick is going to come back. And the style of play that they play, they would need that. I would go with one of those. Preferably, I would probably go with Grayson Allen because 4-year player. He plays similar to J.J. Redick. You're not losing much. And if you get J.J. Redick, that's a bonus of somebody else coming off the bench to relieve him that can do the exact same thing.
That's the top 10. The Clippers, by the way, they picked back-to-back at 12 and 13. The 12th pick is acquired from Detroit in that Blake Griffin trade from this past season. Clippers, very interesting spot here. Most teams don't have this luxury of picking back-to-back.
Yeah.
What's the biggest need for the Clips at this point in time?
Well, they have DeAndre Jordan. I think you need to prep to see if he's you don't know if he's going to come back. They lost a power forward, which is Blake Griffin. And somebody I would consider is I would go with if you have a backup center, I would probably go with like USC's Ches what's his name? Ches Muzo?
Yes.
I would go with him.
Another guy who's not getting a lot of airtime, but it's got a lot of upside.
Yeah, I will go with him. Or if I would go with a power forward.
How about some of the Kentucky guys?
Newman?
Yeah. Or you mean Kansas Newman?
You mean Kansas Newman. With Kentucky, you got Kevin Knox.
Yeah.
Kevin Knox.
This isn't really a draft in which, Calipari's guys are, big standouts. It's not like, Fox from last year.
They weren't big standouts this year for me. Honestly, if Jaren Jackson Jr. was there, which I don't think he's going to be, I think he's going to be selected early.
Yeah.
Because you need something of like that caliber of player. And, I would think about Miles Bridges.
Yeah, out of Villanova.
Out of Michigan State.
Oh, Michigan State.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think of Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, man. You need a big body in there. But also they need a point guard too. I mean, Rivers is not the answer. And Patrick Beverly is not your answer in point guards. And, they're backups. That's what they are. They're not like starters, Jalen Brunson would be a good one for them.
Yep.
I don't know if he's a starter, but you need
could evolve into that.
He could evolve in that, but you need to PG that. Here we go, Devontae Graham.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Win an award player. You need somebody that he's going to be a star in the league. He is.
I like that one.
Devontae Graham is going to be a good pick for the Clippers. I would select that.
The other notable first-round pick, of course, is your L.A. Lakers, 25 overall. We talked about it a bit tonight. Again, it's hard to say who's going to be available at that point in time in the draft. Somewhat of slim pickings, but they can still get value there, i.e. Kyle Kuzma last year or later in the draft.
Yeah.
With just, kind of just with free range of, taking anybody hypothetically, who should the Lakers take at this point in time? Like we talked about earlier.
There's a lot of players that they were big on. I don't know if Costas is going to be there. I would select him as the number one person I would pick if he's there at that time. I don't know if Costas Antetokounmpo is going to be there at that time. Grayson Allen, they need a shooter. They need shooters.
I like Grayson Allen. I think that would be a great fit here.
Yeah, they need shooters. And I think that's what you need in order. If you're prepping as you're thinking you're gonna have LeBron James. LeBron likes to penetrate and kick. You need guys who's gonna knock down the shot.
Absolutely.
And I think a Grayson Allen, someone like that, is someone that can come to the Lakers and really benefit.
Look no further than the Cavs for being a team that was not able to, when LeBron would kick it out to those guys, make those shots in the finals, right?
Yeah.
It's a perfect blueprint example of what you obviously it showed the deficiencies, what you need if you're going to have LeBron, like you said, in your team, the type of guys to knock down shots consistently.
Yeah.
Lakers should be taking notes. I'm sure they have been.
Uh-huh.
So there you go. Lakers, a couple of picks here in the 2018 draft tomorrow night. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a really interesting draft. Like we said, we talked last night with a couple different guys. We talked with Dave King out of the Phoenix area who covers the Suns for SB Nation. And look, he said that this has potential to be close to 03.
Yeah.
Maybe talent-wise overall. Time will tell, but that's definitely high praise, and it leads me to believe that you can get talent later on, which is what Lakers fans are kind of hanging their hat on at this point in time. They can find some talent later in the first round and in the second round for the purple and gold.
Hey, I think it's going to be purple and gold's got a lot of good choices, a lot of good talents there. I think the Lakers are choosing for the draft, though. They're trying to get a free agent, and I think that's what you really want to set up for. You want a young guy. If you want a young guy, I would personally go with a shooter. I think you don't need any big. I think you're going to just pick up some bigs, whatever the case may be. And it all depends on what type of play, what type of way he's going to play. If he's looking for a center, then I would go for one. But I think Brook Lopez, those guys weren't the answer to what they want to do. But shooting guard, man, I would definitely go with a shooting guard. A knockdown shooter, even if it was a small forward, they have to be a knockdown shooter. That's what the Lakers need. And we'll see, man. I think it's going to be a great draft for all these teams. I don't think we left out Michael Porter Jr. As recently they expecting big things from him, and Puma, and he's been signed and all this stuff.
We'll see.
I think people are
it's
really
nice and flashy.
We were going off the hype, man, and they don't understand.
Big time. It's crazy.
I'm
really surprised by it.
I'm like, man, to me, the way I look at it, I'm like, shoot.
Man.
If my kid is an All-American high school player and he sits out his college year, I'm like, man, you're going to the NBA, because obviously that's what they're going off of. They're going off what you didn't.
Man, that family, and everyone who's representing him at this point in time, Michael Porter Jr., man, do they know how to get every single last drop out of the sponge.
Yes.
Man, I'll tell you, it's impressive.
Because that alone, and he may be able to prove me wrong, but that alone is not – that's like the Markelle Fultz bust.
Yeah, it's got that potential.
Yeah.
It's moving towards it, right?
Yeah. That's the Markelle Fultz. That's the Markelle Fultz bust. And so I just think that was just I think it's just a dumb move, man. Like, I don't see Michael Porter Jr. being that's just scary to me, selecting him as a first round pick when he's had a back injury. He's had constructive surgery on his back. I wouldn't select him as a number one pick.
It's Behind the Mic, live from Grunions Sports Bar and Grill here in Manhattan Beach. A quick break, and we're back for more after this.
Every 17 minutes, Make-A-Wish makes the impossible possible. They tame dragons. They bring Saturn to Earth. They help superheroes save entire cities. They even make unicorns fly. All to give children the strength they need to fight their critical illnesses. Every wish takes muscle. Help us make sure every wish comes true. Join us at wish.org.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick, and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Battles aren't won solely on the field. That's a common misconception. Battles are won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. In that place where promises are kept. Promises to oneself.
This is a physical training event.
Promises to one's community.
Helping people move debris out of their house.
Promises to one's country. In the heart of every Marine, you'll find a promise. A promise forever kept. A promise of battles won.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Everybody buckle up. Buckle up.
Let's go.
Buckle up.
Can we go to the store? Mom, can we
Buckle
get
up.
some ice cream?
Everybody, buckle up.
A lot goes on in the car, but you're in control. So only move when you hear the click that says they're buckled in. Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1,000,000. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
You're listening to Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome back inside Grunions Sports Bar and Grill, the one and only here off of Sepulveda Boulevard in Manhattan Beach. Brad Dalius, Keith Jackson behind the mic. Online at BehindTheMicShow.com, the official Behind the Mic app, in addition to our video live streaming online as well. A lot of NBA draft talk tonight. We're giving you kind of a couple of our mock drafts here earlier, getting ready for tomorrow night's big affair in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. How are the Lakers going to do? It was announced earlier today, and as I kind of referenced before the break, they acquired the 39th overall pick from Philly earlier today, trading away a future 2019 second-round pick. So getting a couple picks in tomorrow's draft. We talked about there being value throughout this draft, good quality overall. We both think that Grayson Allen would be a great fit for this team. If you look through a lot of different mock drafts, he should be maybe available around 25 where the Lakers are picking. Yeah. That would be just a fantastic pick. I think any of the guys out of Villanova would be a good pick for this team. Keith, you brought up a great point earlier, making the case that if LeBron does come here, he's going to need guys he can kick the ball out to, who can shoot a high percentage from the field. Yeah. That's going to be key, especially if this team is going to make the playoffs next year and maybe beyond as well. So we're looking forward to tomorrow night's draft. I want to hit on a couple other stories now going on in the world of sports. Let's first go to the Tom Brady interview with Oprah on Sunday, Keith. Yep. This was interesting. It was a little unannounced. There wasn't a lot of promotion of this interview. I don't think she does a lot of promotions for interviews now on that OWN network. But either way, the big takeaway from this interview was that Brady had mentioned that he sees retirement coming a lot sooner now than he did in the past. Now, if you want to believe him at that one, I guess you can. He comes out a couple days later, though, earlier this week, and basically says, nope, just kidding. I'm back to 45 now. I'm back to 5 more years of playing. So who knows? They're probably playing games with everybody. I think that's what's going on, especially with the Patriots organizations we've talked about here this offseason. Things have kind of gotten boring there, kind of ho-hum. So people have tried to create stories, and they've tried to create a narrative with this team and, what's going on. But specifically tackling the Brady case right now, look, I think he is getting closer probably to retirement. I don't know if he's going to play to 45. I don't know if that's going to happen because he's only 40. He's going to turn 41 in August, so that means 5 more years if he were to stick to that one.
Yeah.
Probably realistically, maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think like either 2 or 3, and that's depending on what happens. That's why they're trying to beef up that line, knock on wood, that he doesn't get injured, because that's going to also have a big impact on what goes with him next. He still can sling the ball. He's got a great arm. He's got some great accuracy. But look, when you interview with Oprah Winfrey and you're hinting like – there's no interview with what other person do you interview that you're going to break some big news? Oprah and Barbara Walters. Right?
That's true. I mean, those are the big two.
Those are the 2 big ones. So, obviously, something out of that was coming out of that, and he hinted out, and he's like, hey, and then Giselle's good friends with Oprah, as well. So, I can see that interviewing happen, but she's definitely going to get something good out of it. And
they did. And they got some sound bites.
They got some sound bites. And he hinted at that 45. I don't think 45. I do think maybe 3 years, maybe 43 or something like that.
As much as we all want to see it, it's probably unlikely.
Yeah, it's highly unlikely. It depends if he's got a line of like a Dallas Cowboys O-line like they had back in the day with Troy Aikman, and 5 or 6 seconds to get to him. The O-line wasn't that great last year.
It wasn't. With that being said, though, he still gets rid of the ball faster than almost any quarterback in this league, and they've been able to be successful with that formula.
Yeah, he does. And so it all depends with that. But I think 45 is maybe his goal. But I think when you come down to it, look, it took him some time to even get to the point of working out and doing things like that and coming to OTA, all that stuff, even though he doesn't usually typically come. But you could tell things are probably like a drag for him now. Like, I got to do this again or this and that. So, I don't know. I say, look, whoever comes in, they're going to have some big shoes to fill, whoever comes in. So, I think Belichick was right. I think Garoppolo was that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing, too. If you're hearing this now that – okay, maybe I'm closer to retirement than I was. I mean, you got to be kidding me.
You got to be really kicking yourself.
With trading Garoppolo away.
Yeah.
Because that's not what Brady was saying.
Yeah.
last year.
No, he
or
wasn't.
a year and a half ago.
He wasn't. And you really got to be kicking yourself in the foot like we just traded away our guy, the main guy, and now we're looking for someone like that. And I don't think those come a dime a dozen. So, you know, you got to hope that you can get something to that even point who's going to be that great guy. And hopefully Belichick can do it. I think Belichick's going to be going with him, though.
I think so, too. I've always thought that once Brady leaves, that will be Belichick's final season as well. Who knows? Maybe the kid out of LSU, the quarterback they drafted here a few months ago, maybe they can mold him into something. We'll have to see. Let's move on to Gronkowski. And basically, it looks like all the offseason drama is behind them for now.
Yeah.
If you read a couple different reports, the team, Kraft denies that they were actively shopping Gronkowski on the block.
Of course.
He's called it hogwash. Now, if you look at some of these reports and some of these sources that are close to the team, they weren't actively shopping him to the entire league, which makes sense, but they were shopping them to a few teams around the league. Now, you can probably guess the teams they were shopping him or at least entertaining talks with, teams that have New England ties.
Yeah.
Whether it be Patricia in Detroit, Mike Vrabel, the head coach with the Titans now.
The Texans.
With Bill O'Brien. Definitely San Francisco was a team named in one of the reports in which they were talking with Shanahan about, because we know Belichick has a lot of respect for the Shanahan family overall. So it's teams with New England ties, which I think is true. And basically, some of these reports go on to say that once Gronk did arrive to New England here for their mini camp and such, basically him and Belichick had a come to Jesus type of moment.
Yeah.
In which they talked about, obviously, Gronkowski wants to be a Patriot. He wants to be a Patriot going forward for the foreseeable future. Probably wants to get paid a little bit more money. So I think it probably can be surmised that they're going through some type of contract talks right now to improve his deal. And, moving forward here, because basically if Gronkowski was traded, I think Brady probably would retire. I don't think Brady's going to be here if Gronkowski's not going to be here.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got a stud tight end. No one can stop that guy. Look, he's won the Super Bowl with them, and he's won one without him. So
that's true.
You also got to take that in consideration. But
there was a place and time to trade Gronkowski.
Yes.
And that was after they won the Super Bowl over Atlanta.
Yeah.
When they had Martellus Bennett for that period of time.
Yeah.
That was a time in which, if they would have pulled the trigger on that one and traded him away, I don't think a lot of fans would have been upset about it at that point in time. Things have changed now.
Exactly.
So they kind of missed their window on that if they were going to trade him away.
Yeah. And I just think that, Gronkowski's the guy, he's a Patriot. He's the guy that's for the job there. He fits the system. I do think he's going to need his mind's on. Gronkowski reminds me of Dwayne Johnson, a guy who was supposed to be an NFL player, was an NFL player, and became a huge actor, was in the WWE, and then became a huge actor, and he's big. And I think Gronkowski has that potential of being that, and I think he's just, look, I totally get it. When you're getting hit every night or you're getting surgeries on your body all the time, after when you get older, man, you become crippled. And you can't walk, you can't move the same. You can't, and I get it that he was like, look, I'm trying to do other things like act and things like that, go out on trips, be with my family. So I totally understand it and make a lot of money.
Exactly.
Doing that without getting hit or a concussion or without having another surgery at the end of the season. It takes a toll on your body, so I understand and I fully understand that. But the bottom line is, I think Rob Gronkowski is where he's playing at right now. He, like I told you earlier, certain players fit the system. He just fits the Patriots. He just fits with that system of what Belichick does. And I think they got to just do a better job of giving him the ball in spots where he's not going to take a beating. And
easier said than done.
It is.
But I think he's another guy who more so can probably see the end of the line coming sooner versus later. He's not going to play into his 30s. No. I don't see that happening. Like you said, Body's taking too big of a toll, too physical of a guy. I think you can make the case that the trio of Belichick, Brady, and Gronkowski all leave at the same time. If not in 2 years, maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe 3. I don't see 5. I can't see them doing
No
5
way.
years.
Not Gronkowski.
No.
Let's move on to a couple different topics here, a little rapid fire. Phil Mickelson, a little bit of a wrap-up from the U.S. Open on Sunday, Keith. Brooks Koepka was the winner, by the way.
Yeah.
By the way. Back-to-back U.S. Opens, pretty impressive in itself. I didn't realize, just talking about him for a second here, that there's only been like 5 or 6 guys all time to win back-to-back U.S. Opens. Keep that in mind. That's over a 100-year history of the event. So that was really impressive in itself. I believe the last guy to do it, there was one other guy, it was Curtis Strange, who did it in the late 80s. Before that, it was all black and white photos of the guys who'd done it. So you kind of get where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
It's a tough accomplishment. But the crazy thing is, Keith, that was not the story of the week at the U.S. Open. It was Phil and his mini golf hour, if you will, kind of getting a little, I don't know what you want to call it, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. They saw his, after he putted the ball, this was on Saturday, quick rain after the putt, to try and avoid it rolling all the way off the green, which we know it did there all week at Shinnecock. Extremely fast greens, a little bit too fast in my opinion.
Yeah.
But he goes and he hits it back, takes the 2-stroke penalty, and everyone in social media lost their minds.
Yeah.
I mean, literally lost their minds, calling for him to be DQ'd, disqualified. He should apologize. I mean, really, probably, it was a little unnecessary what he did there.
Yeah.
Take the 2-stroke penalty, but for him to come out and fully apologize, and for guys to, in the post-game interviews when he comes off the course, to kind of almost bait him into an apology, that's really unbelievable.
Yeah, it is.
It's uncalled for. We don't need that.
It is. It's like, come on, guys. Like, it's golf, and a person of his stature that's been there for many years and what he's done for the game of golf, like, you got to give him a pass on that. He's just out here really to have fun. He's not expecting to come out here and win any Masters or win any U.S. Opens anymore. He's just really out there just to have fun and see how far he can place, and that's it. And I think it was a little frustrating. He even said it. He came out and he did apologize because, that's what Phil Mickelson does. He doesn't like confrontation. But he apologized, and he said he was just a little also embarrassed and frustrated and things like that. And I totally get it. A lot of the top 5 guys, top 10 guys didn't qualify. A lot of them missed the cut, after the first cut, because how just challenging the course was, and how, like you said, how the ball was rolling off the green so
it's
fast.
Crazy.
So, it was a tough situation. He's like, look, I'm just want to have fun. Who cares? I'm not going to make the cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Did it really offend people?
I
mean, did it really ruin people's Saturdays?
Exactly.
Come on.
To me, I found it hilarious. It was
I did too. I didn't know. I didn't see it live. I just saw the highlight like most people did, and I just couldn't believe the uproar, because when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's he was obviously just trying to just save the ball from rolling off. I didn't think at all he was disrespecting the game of golf.
No.
That thought never crossed my mind.
No. He didn't disrespect the game of golf. I think what's disrespectful is coming after him and telling him to apologize when everything he's already done for the game. He's out there like, look, I'm just trying to have fun and enjoy the time. I'm already in 10 strokes, 9 strokes back. What does it matter?
Exactly, that point. It's not like, I don't think he would have done that if he was tied or a shot or 2 back.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have kind of rolled the dice on that 2-stroke penalty right there.
Yeah, he knew he didn't make the cut, so he was just like, whatever, So I don't think he had to apologize for it. I don't think it was necessary for him to apologize. But golf is a very prestige sport, and conservative sport. Let's say that, and and you got to remember something. Remember when Tiger Woods and his emotion he used to show, they used to chastise him on that, with him getting pissed off and mad, and how he was like sometimes slamming his club on the ground, or because he had some emotion to it. They didn't like that at one point in time. Remember, that was something that was discussed. So
his caddy would take people's cameras and throw it in the ponds and things like that.
Exactly. And they would get mad because of his emotions that Tiger put on. Now, I don't agree with throwing people's cameras and stuff.
That might have been a little excessive.
But his emotion for missing a shot or making a shot, and his antics of like getting mad or things like that, the expression he showed, they didn't like that. And he,
it's sports.
It's sports.
It's competitive.
And at the end of the day, it's all sports. These guys put in a lot of time, a lot of work. There's a reason why they're at this level. And for somebody like Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods, those people who've done so much for the game and evolved the game and changed the game, they get a pass. And they're the Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant of golf. They get a pass. They don't need to apologize for anything. I get if it was as detrimental to the whole game and it changed the whole thing in the game, but a guy who's like 8-9 strokes back, what does it matter? He's not going to make the cut anyway. What are you going to do? You're upset because he did that? That's nothing.
Unnecessary overreaction.
Yeah,
absolutely. But again, it goes to show you that it was telling that was the biggest story from this U.S. Open.
Yeah.
The course, they made it tough. They're borderlining, Keith, on making it tough and making it almost impossible out there to shoot some good scores. It depends on how you look at that. You can say, well, whoever wins it, they really passed the true test of a champion, I guess. But at the same time, to see some of these scores, 15, 16 over par, it's not really easy on the eyes. Let's put it that way to watch as a spectator on TV.
Yeah,
it's a little tough, even if you're there in person as well. I'm sure it's a cool experience, but you want to see a little red figures. You want to see some guys get into some under par scoring. Didn't happen this week. Brooks Koepka, though, won it. This is a guy who maybe is redefining the way in which you can win some of these events. Bigger guy, almost built like a linebacker, Keith. Much bigger built, and not a typical type of golf stature of a guy. And it's interesting now. Back to back, only a couple guys have done it. Maybe this is a type of thing that it's rewriting the playbook here, how you win some of these tough events and some of these really tough courses, how you just muscle through some of these tee shots.
It's unheard of to first off win back to back.
It doesn't happen much.
It doesn't happen much. But hey, he did it, and I'm going to give my props also to Justin Johnson for even taking third. He's been on a roll.
He has been. I was a little disappointed that he didn't putt as well like he did on Thursday and Friday. And like we talked about last week, this is a guy who really has all the makings to kind of burst onto the scene and be a superstar type player, but lacks the consistency to do so.
Yeah. And
so from that perspective, if you're rooting for like more consistency for some of these top guys, who Dustin Johnson is ranked first in the world right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to see a little more consistency than that.
You do.
Especially when you're in striking distance, you want to see those guys just take off.
Yeah.
We've been spoiled over the years. We've seen that with guys like Tiger.
And that's true. And I'm not giving him a pass, but I'm going to say this. That course, man, was probably one of the challenges course in so many years.
It's got to be. It is.
That they played. And, to me, it speaks a lot when you have the top 5, top 10 guys, and 8 of those guys didn't even make the cut.
Disappointing, from the big superstars. Jordan Spieth not making the cut. Ricky Fowler not really having a great showing this past week. Roy McIlroy struggling big time. Tiger misses the cut, obviously. Phil didn't play well. All the big guns didn't show up. So I'm not sure how the ratings did on Fox, but they definitely drew some eyeballs with the Mickelson incident. But other than that, I think you just had diehards watching on Sunday. That was about it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think golf took a hit on Saturday night. And, it really did take a hit. And when you have those big guns, and that's the thing is with every sport, when you have your top guns not make it or not even make the cut, or you want to see those guys. Those are guys that give you the ratings. And
absolutely,
when they're when they don't make a cut, it's just like nobody's interested in watching. I actually turned it off. So, I turned it back on the last day, and I was like, oh wow, okay.
I watched, but really, I just watched for the purposes of doing this show.
Yeah.
And the fact that I play golf, I haven't watched recently in recent events, especially at the end when Tiger isn't there. I usually don't. This was somewhat interesting, probably because of the fact that Koepka won last year, and I saw him rising on the leaderboard, and I was like, can he go back to back? That was a little interesting for me, but again, I'm somewhat of the minority with, just being like the ultimate diehard of a sports fan who's going to tune in.
Yeah.
I mean, your average Joe, no way.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Exactly. After Tiger's out, that's a lot of people stop following.
Oh, yeah. It's just not the same. It's not the same. And I think he's still in a good spot. This week can almost be viewed as an anomaly, I think. He's going to get back. He'll play in the national tournament in the next couple of weeks, and then he'll get ready for the British Open at the end of July. And I still think there's a lot of opportunities for him on a course that's a little more favorable to better scoring. I still think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Other news today from across sports, Major League Baseball announced that they're going to play a kickoff game, if you will, a regular season game prior to the start of the 2019 College World Series next year. So you have this year's College World Series going on right now as we speak from Omaha, but it was announced today the commissioner, Rob Manfred and company, said they're going to play this game next year in Omaha. It creates a little more exposure, obviously, and it's a place that's rich in history in Omaha as far as college baseball is concerned. So I kind of like it. I kind of like the combination there.
And it's more exposure for the guys. On top of that, get a lot more looks for the following draft and things like that. I think it's a good move that they're doing that. And again, like, it's historic. It's a historic place to play baseball, like you mentioned. I think it was a great move on their part. And, again, it's just the more exposure, the better. And the better, the better for the players, the athletes, the schools, the ratings. That's what you need. It's about the money.
Major League Baseball needs a little something, too. Let's face it, they got killed with the weather, number one.
The weather's killing them.
Especially, back in April, so many games delayed, postponed, so many bad teams in markets that have a tough time drawing to begin with when those teams are playing well. So they got killed at the beginning of the season. They've definitely improved now a little bit. But April, they could choose to do something. Maybe if they want to do something in April, I think that would be good. College World Series, is here at the beginning of June or so, middle of June. So they could always use something. Until you get to the All-Star break, it's always lacking a little bit.
Yes.
So they could use something to kind of build it up. So I think if you're a fan of baseball, I think you have to be a fan of this, what they're going to do next year.
Absolutely. You got to be a fan. It's a great situation for baseball, and it helps also going into the back end of baseball when they get into the playoffs and things like that for major leagues. It's something that the fans can actually look forward to and keep positive. No, it's not like that dead space where they're like, okay, when are we going to start back up again? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So they need something to break it up, and they'll get that next year in 2019. Hey, awesome show tonight here from Grunions Sports Bar and Grill, Manhattan Beach. Brad and Keith on hand, as we always are on Wednesday nights here in Manhattan. Tomorrow night over at Kings Cove, El Segundo, for our Thursday night broadcast. We'll have complete coverage of the NBA draft. We'll go through all the selections as they come in. And like we had a lot of fun with the NFL draft a couple months ago, Keith, there from Kings Cove. Should be a good time tomorrow night as well.
Yes, absolutely. Can't wait.
That'll do it for tonight. For Keith, I'm Brad. Keep living the dream. We'll talk to you tomorrow.